Hey guys, we are back. I hope everybody has had a chance to look at our first session with Teresa Bell, and the topic today was garden go-tos. And man, was it power packed! And like Teresa said, because it's so chocked with great information, you can actually pause the video, take notes, go do some research, come back. So that's what I really like about these Zoom calls. Teresa really throws a punch, meaning she really packs a lot of information, and we're so blessed to have her at One-on-One Homesteading. So with no further ado, welcome back, Teresa. And
Thank you.
yeah, so we're going to go ahead and let you take off on our second Zoom call. Again, she had 5 topics she was going to discuss, and they were soil, fertilizer, weeds, pests, and Bambi. So we got through the first 3, and now we're going to kick it off with pests. And Teresa, with no further ado, take it away, girl.
All righty. Well, pests, that is such a perfect word for what they are, because pests are such a pain. But that being said, if I could encourage you to do anything, is please don't use pesticides.
Yeah.
Please don't spray 7 dust on your stuff. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm a beekeeper.
Yes.
And if it kills an insect, it'll kill a bee. So if you put 7 dust on your squash plants to get rid of the squash bugs, all those sweet little bees that are going to pollinate your squash plants for you are going to take that dust to their hive, and it's not just going to kill them, it's going to kill their friends. So please, 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 please learn about organic methods of pest control. There's so much we can do, and it really does make a difference. So that being said, obviously I believe in natural methods of pest control. It may take a little bit of effort and consistency, but if you're going to be a gardener, you're going to have to be consistent. I will say this, that my favorite go-to, Pinterest, has, I won't say it's limitless, but it feels like limitless resources on taking care of pests and new ways to deal with them. And I just learned some new stuff the other day, and I was going, oh my gosh, I never heard of that before, and I'm going to try it. So please, keep in there and look for ways to deal with these wonderful little things. So I'm just going to cover some methods. I gave the picture of my 3 worst enemies in the garden, these guys right here. And the first one in that picture, that one that's so pretty green, that tomato hornworm, those are the guys that blend so perfectly with your tomato plant that you won't see them.
Wow.
I mean, you can look for them and not see him, and all of a sudden you look and there he is, and they can consume a whole tomato plant overnight.
Wow.
They are voracious eaters. So you really have to stay on top of them. And so there's those guys. The one on the bottom left is the squash bug. And they always lay this nice little pattern of eggs all over your squash leaves. The one to the right is the Japanese beetle, who will make your pretty bean leaves look like lace. They're just so bad. So all 3 of these should be part of your daily walkthrough. If you have to have gloves, because you can't handle the idea of touching them with your fingers, get gloves, have a cup of soapy water, or just a cup, because I don't put them in soapy water, I give them to my chickens. But pick them off, put them in the cup, and just take them out of the garden with you. That's one of the easy ways of dealing with these guys, but it does take consistency. I will say that if they've laid the eggs, the squash bug has laid the eggs on the leaf, either remove the whole leaf or just tear off the part where the eggs are. And you have to look under the leaves as well as on top, because they like to lay them under also. Companion plants are one way of dealing with these guys. I'm a huge fan of companion planting. I have, just as an example, I have some fire rings, and I planted pumpkin, cucumber, and bean, one of each, in my fire ring. But then I also planted marigold. Marigold's like your go-to most powerful companion plant there is. And then I've also got dill, and I've also got I think, thyme that I've put in there, because those aromatic herbs will repel the pests. So aphids hate the smell of dill. So that is a huge way that you can just naturally, deter those pests. Plus you get dill seed for seasoning. So that's, kind of a good deal.
Yeah.
Some companion plants will repel by their scent. Some will actually attract pests. So I learned that the blue Hubbard squash, if planted by your summer squash, will draw the squash bugs. They like blue Hubbards better than they like zucchini. So I have this year, I'm trying it out. I have a row of zucchini and actually a row of winter squash, and I've got a row of Hubbard squash in between. So this is my experiment to see if they actually do attract those squash bugs. So it's a sacrifice plant. Next is beneficial insects. They are great. So I love the wasp. We don't like wasps, right? But we found that this particular kind of wasp, I forget what kind it's called, but they lay their eggs on that tomato hornworm. And the eggs burrow into the hornworm and the larvae eat it.
It's a horror movie.
They actually destroy the hornworm by laying their eggs in it.
Wow.
It's called a parasitic wasp. It's pretty interesting. And then ladybugs and praying mantises, you can buy them in bulk. You can get a little package of them and release them into your garden. And they love aphids. Ooh, they love aphids. And aphids are those little tiny things that look like little specks that are all along the stems of a plant. And they'll get thicker and thicker and thicker. And they will just destroy your plant. So you got to get rid of those aphids.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do for aphids, this just came to my mind. This is not a beneficial insect, but I just thought of it. Aphids are attracted to yellow. So you can get, a styrofoam cup, spray paint it yellow, or if they make yellow solo cups, I guess you could get those. Wow. Coat them with petroleum jelly on the inside and on the part of the outside. Get one of those tongue depressor sticks, popsicle sticks, stick the stick in in the bed and put the cup upside down over that stick. And the aphids will go to that and get trapped in the petroleum jelly instead of on your plant. Isn't that fun? I love it.
That's cool.
All kinds of tips, I'll tell you.
Wow.
And one I haven't tried yet is essential oils. I'm just starting to read up on this, but there are, like I said, a lot of insects are repelled by scent. And so you can use the essential oils in your garden. And that's about all I know about it, except what I read, I thought was really interesting. Another thing that will repel aphids is take a cotton ball and soak it in peppermint oil and just lay it among the plants. And that repels the aphids. Now, I'm sure you have to renew that every time it rains. That happens.
Yeah.
And another one that I did not put in here as a slide, but it's coming to my mind now, is one safe thing that you can apply to plants to combat pests is neem oil, Neem. I don't know what it's made up of. I just know it's a safe anti-pest thing that you can apply. You can also, I know they use it in orchards a lot of time and put it on fruit to keep the bugs off the fruit so that they won't destroy them. So you can look into that for sure. All right, that's all I have on pests.
Oh, I have a question on pests. I read this, or actually I have a friend that did this, Teresa. What about coffee, using coffee grounds in your garden? What does that repel? Like big critters, little critters?
I don't know. I've never known it for repelling. I've known it that it's really great for adding to your soil. Oh, it's really great for adding to your soil, but I don't know what it repels.
Okay, well, it may not, but I've actually been sprinkling some in my garden. So I didn't know. It's
good stuff. I save it. Well, I save it from the church. I save tons of coffee grounds and I put it in my gardens. Yeah. And if you ever, and also what that does also is earthworms love coffee grounds.
Oh, okay.
So that's a huge growing medium for them.
Okay.
So when you're working that into the soil around your plants, the earthworms are saying thank you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, all right. Well, we'll move on to Bambi.
All right, Bambi and friends. My parents lived in the country, and down the road from them a little bit, my dad's best friend had a place. And he was a meticulous gardener. Now, he didn't do a lot of vegetables, but he loved flowers. And he had a very long driveway, and he had all these gorgeous hostas and azaleas, every kind of flower you could think of. And every year they would be bare nubs by mid-spring because of the deer. Deer are voracious eaters. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I think some people said that was something they were interested in learning about.
Right.
Deer's the first one. So what I'm going to do is just give you some things that you can do to deter the deer. And I missed a talking point, so I'm actually going to go back one on my slide just so I can get my points. So the two things that deer seek are food and shelter. They love lettuce, peas, corn, tomatoes, pumpkins, green beans, carrots, broccoli. They even love pecans and hickory nuts. They love English ivy. They really love hostas and daylilies. Oh, and by the way, apples, blueberries, blackberries, and it's because they're all high nutrition plants. They have protein in them, and the deer crave the protein, especially when they have their babies, and especially when they're preparing for winter. So they're drawn to these plants because it's supplying a nutritional need. So now we got to figure out how to make them to feel less welcome. Now, this is a lot of stuff. I know. I haven't tried a lot of these, but this is what I found from my research. So I'm just going to throw this out to y'all, and you figure out what you want to try. So the first thing is, if you can remove underbrush and tall grass that provide a shelter, that's kind of a no for us since our whole yard and garden is surrounded by woods. But if you've got some weedy areas that are tall weeds, you might want to try to cut those down. Get a dog. They don't like dogs. And sometimes if the dog will mark the area, a lot of times that will start to become a deterrent. But deer seem to be really resilient. And what happens is, as soon as they get used to one deterrent, once they've gotten used to it, they don't pay it any mind anymore. So you have to kind of keep changing up what you're doing.
Got it.
I love this one. Irish Spring soap. I did not know that. I know it does have a strong scent to it, but I did not know that deer didn't like it. Fishing line. This is if you have a fence. Supposedly, you can run fishing line around the fence 3 to 5 times, and it confuses their depth perception, so they won't want to jump the fence into your garden.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, netting. I was just telling Mike this morning, I've got to get more netting, but you can get they call it bird netting, and you can put that over your plants, and deer will not take a chance of getting caught up in that because they're always ready to flight. They're always ready to run, so they won't get into something that they think is going to, entangle them. Yep. And it's not that expensive. So especially if you don't have a big garden and you don't have a fence around it, the netting might be a real solution. They don't like sudden movement or sudden sound when they're feeding. So if you can have like wind chimes, there's this reflective ribbon that you can get that just, it twirls, and it's what do they call it? Holographic. It's holographic. It's got all the different dimensions of color in it and stuff. Yeah. Well, every time the wind moves that's a movement that startles them, and so they don't want to stick around. That's what I'm told. Use proven repellent sprays, because everybody and their brother has made something that they think is going to repel deer. So before I would buy anything, I would sure look at some reviews because of how persistent deer are. I've got 2 that I'm going to tell you. I have not used them. I'm just saying 2 that came up in an article that I read. One is called Liquid Fence Deer Repellent, and one is called Deer Out Deer Repellent. But even at their best, they're said to have a 75% success rate. So that's just because deer are what they are. All right. Now you can also include plants that have texture or are poisonous to deer. I'm just going to run through the list, and then if you need to stop and take notes, you can do that. Daffodils, believe it or not. Something called mullein. I've never heard of that. Russian olive, boxwood, oleander. That's also poisonous to your dogs, so be careful about that. Roses, globe thistle, bleeding hearts. That's a really pretty shade plant you might be able to put around. Poppies, lavender, garlic, and fig.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we've got aromatic plants. Once again, I'm telling you what, these plants that give off these smells, these scents, they've got a lot of value more than just what you eat. Onions, leeks, garlic, thyme, dill, sage, hops, oregano, hyssop, bee balm, and mint. Got to be careful with mint because it will overtake wherever it's planted. So if you don't care, it's great.
Right.
Then I like this: deer deterring decor, scarecrows, balloons, the shiny ribbon. I once almost thought about getting one of those guys that they have at car places that has the arms and they flop in the wind, those big tube things.
Right.
But I didn't. Anyway, there's, be creative. Be creative.
Yeah.
Next is hedges. They don't like to go where they can't see the other side. So sometimes just something as simple as planting a hedge might work around your garden. And the last one is human hair. Evidently, the scent of human hair will repel deer. So you can get the hair, and I'm going to tell you, my sweet hairdresser, they have these little like a small trash can thing, but it's a vacuum and it goes into a central system. And so she just sweeps, whenever she cuts hair, she just sweeps it into there and it sucks it all up. So I asked her, I said, hey, how do you get rid of the hair that you guys put into that system? She goes, oh, we just have it in a bag and throw it away. I said, well, can I have a bag? So she saved a bag for me. And I was there yesterday and she saved me another bag.
Wow.
So she said, I got your hair. So what you do is you just put it in a fine mesh bag, like you could get like a paint filter.
Oh, yeah.
Or pantyhose or something like that. And then if you've got, even if you don't have a fence, if you just have some posts or tall stakes, just fix it to that and let it hang down. And then in just in intervals, around your garden area. And supposedly the scent of that hair will repel the deer. Wow,
that's cool. Love it.
And of course, Mike adds a really easy one, if you can, is put a fence around your garden. So, but I will say it needs to be a tall fence, because a 5-foot fence is not a boundary for them. They will hop right over a 5-foot. So you need a 6-foot. But anyway, of course, you need a fence. All right. On to our friends, the rabbits. Well, they're just rabbits. I thought I had sound to go back. I thought I had a thing on the rabbits. Let me go back. Oh, can you just, y'all bear with my mess up on my slide order, okay? Because I believe the next one after this one is, there it is. I knew it was out of order. So here's rabbits. So I have 5 ways to deter rabbits, and a lot of it's the same as the deer, but with a little caveat. You can do the hair. They don't like smell of humans. So even just scattering hair in, like they love strawberries. Had one nibbled yesterday. They love strawberries and those low-lying things. Of course, they love, lettuce and that kind of thing. You can just scatter human hair or dog hair in the bed. And that's great because it's also going to build up the soil eventually, but it should do some repelling for the rabbits. You can also do some repellent plants. So especially if you do it on the border for the rabbits, because they're little guys, on the border of your beds. So alyssum, marigolds, lavender, rosemary, catnip, basil, oregano, yarrow. If you put those around the border, that's going to be a deterrent to your rabbits. And then just look at all the awesome stuff you've got to harvest.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is get some rubber snakes and put them in it. Now, I tried that last year for, since I have a couple minutes to say, I tried that last year for my raised beds because my neighbor's cat thought it was their personal litter box.
No.
So I bought all these, he lives across the road, so he has to come up and come over our big fence and then into our yard. So I bought these rubber snakes on Amazon, and I put one on the top of the fence where he usually crossed, and I put one like on the edge of the raised bed, and I don't know that it made a difference. But I do know that a king snake thought it was one, because I walked up there and I almost grabbed him because I thought he had fallen off the raised bed and it was a real snake.
Oh,
so anyway,
golly.
The 4th one is the ribbon. Once again, the holographic ribbon and the wind chimes. They don't like sudden movement, and they dart away quickly. And then the last one is the netting, which I'm getting ready to put on my strawberries this weekend because I don't want them eating my strawberries.
Amen.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then back to the picture, just for the sake of the picture, if I can get my mouse to work, to the birds. It's the same thing. Scarecrows, netting, shiny ribbon. That's what they don't like. So that's just what you, and the netting, of course, is real important with the fruit. So that birds do love tomatoes. So once you start getting tomatoes, you need to watch and see if you're getting birds eating on them. And if you are, you're going to need to net them because otherwise the birds will destroy your harvest. And now back. That was it.
Wow.
That my biggest leave for it is soil. Feed your soil, it'll feed your plants, and know your plants. You know, that's the main thing.
That's great. What a great webinar. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I put a few slideshows together, so I know you put a lot of time into that. So Teresa and Mike, I want to say thank you so much for your time. That one, just being on the show, but two, just the preparation. My gosh, I know what I know how many hours you put into that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, hey guys, we're gonna wrap up, and I just want to say again, thanks to Mike and Teresa Bell for our first little webinar Zoom call thing here, and it was incredible. I don't know how anybody else is gonna meet those standards. Well, hey guys, blessings on your day, and if you would engage with us on Facebook, that's why we have the group. You can ask questions, you can ask specific questions to a person, and when we put up suggestions or questionnaires about what do you want to talk about or hear about on your next Zoom, this is kind of where we get some of this information from. We want to present things that you guys are interested in, not just talk about fly fishing or something. So anyway, blessings guys on your day. Mike and Teresa, thank you again for your time, and we'll call it a day. God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.